All right, welcome to the Tuesday Online Millionaire Society training session. My name is Nicole Petaway, EVP Platinum with myEcon. I am super excited to rejoin the ranks of the myEcon team and offering up some training that I think we all can benefit from on how to create your testimony or promo. Something that's a core part of growing your business with myEcon. Before I get started into the material, just a couple housekeeping things. I've muted the line. If you have any questions, you can hit *6 to unmute your line, or you can also type your question in the chat window, and I'll look at that. I occasionally will pop in and see if there's any questions there. Also, by way of announcement, if you have not yet registered for our upcoming Midwest Cash Flow Conference, June 1st and 2nd, 2018, please do so. You can register online at mkt.com/myEcon, and that will allow you to go ahead and register. It's going to be an action-packed 2 days. Mr. Alvin Curry is joining us. We're going to kick it off with some investment training on Friday, and then followed up by our Super Saturday business building activity. So if you haven't registered, please do so. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about how to create your testimony and your promo. So you'll see throughout this presentation that I combine, I use the words testimony and promo or promotion interchangeably. So we often refer to either or when we're training. So our agenda for today, we're going to talk about the 5 cash flow streams. I always like to kick off the training session reminding our associates of the 5 cash flow streams that we have available to us. Then we're going to talk about tangible benefits that we should include in our promo, as well as intangible benefits. We're going to talk about how to calculate your total cash flow. I want to show you a script of the promo that you can use and share with your team members and new associates when they join. And then if we've got time, I'd love to do some demos and make this interactive and have some of the associates share some of your promos that you use or that you will use going forward based on the information you've learned tonight. And then we'll wrap it up with next steps, because guess what, folks? You got some homework coming out of this training session. So that's our agenda for the day. So let's talk about the 5 cash flow streams. And this should be familiar to everyone. If you are not familiar with the 5 cash flow streams, please take some time to log into your back office. Take a look at our training manual in the back office. It covers, the training manual is actually broken down by our 5 cash flow streams, but this is the basis of what myEcon is about. So we've got our tax withholding through the W-4. It's one way to get the cash flow stream, how we minimize our taxes as business owners, how we generate business income, how do we make money through myEcon using our products and services in our financial success membership, debt elimination, leveraging our strategies to quickly pay down debt so that you save money. And then, and ultimately, we want to be able to create passive income, money that's working for you when you are not working. And so the basis of the promo is going to be centered around these 5 cash flow streams, because your promo should include how you're benefiting from all 5 of these cash flow streams. So the way that this training is set up is we're going to talk about how to build a promo based off of each of these cash flow streams. And guys, your testimony or your promo of how these cash flow streams are working for you is your most powerful tool. What it's doing for you, your story, is the thing that will help people that you speak to about myEcon want to learn more, want to understand more, and ultimately want to join myEcon. So it's crucial, if you intend to build the business, that you develop your promo. And that's what tonight's training is all about, is centered around building your business by creating your story. We all have a story to tell. We all have our why as to why we joined myEcon, and now we want to talk about, now that we've joined, how is myEcon benefiting us. So the first promo is correcting tax withholding, which is our W-4. So this part is for associates who are employees, because not everyone that joins myEcon has a job. So if you are an associate that doesn't have a job and you're just strictly an entrepreneur, then this wouldn't apply to you. However, if you have a job, you likely redid your W-4, especially the front part, which is the how we calculate, doesn't have anything to do with the business, but how we just redo the W-4 to correct it. So this one is all about correcting the W-4. So part of your promo, you should ask yourself, how much additional money, monthly and yearly, are you bringing home from your paycheck? That's one of the most basic types of promo that we can have, is knowing what your savings were. So if you've not done that, you redid your W-4. All of us who are employees should have redid our W-4 for 2018. So you should be able to compare what you were bringing home prior to joining myEcon versus what you now are receiving in terms of take-home pay. And you should be able to calculate that and know what it is on a monthly basis and on an annual basis. So you should have both of those numbers prepared. And here's just an example excerpt of a promo that you can use. I bring home an additional $800 a month or $9,600 a year by adjusting my W-4. So this one is pretty straightforward. It's correcting a withholding, which anyone can do, whether or not they're a myEcon employee, but that lends itself to your promo. For me, I personally never actually filled out the W-4 form prior to joining myEcon, so I was not aware of all the additional allowances that I was entitled to. So that should be a basic part of everyone's testimony that's an employee that redid their W-4. So if you haven't figured those numbers out, get out your pay stub and do the math to calculate what those numbers are. That's the most basic, simple aspect. The second promo type is minimizing taxes on business income. This is our second cash flow stream. So this is all about us being business owners and how we can leverage all of the deductions. I personally love this particular piece of the promo because it's all about how we turn our lifestyle into tax deductions, something that we can hold over people who are not business owners. And even if they are business owners, most people don't understand how to do this. So this is an important part of our promo and our story, is how are we taking advantage of the tax deductions and the benefits of being able to minimize our taxes as business owners. So how are you doing it? We've got, common tax deductions. We've got over 400 tax deductions that we're leveraging. So, think about car and truck expenses. All of these things should be calculated. And our cash flow manager is the perfect tool for us to be able to come up with tangible numbers. So how much money have you written off so far this year? If you've been keeping your cash flow manager up to date, it should be pretty easy to calculate. Or last year, if you started the business in 2017, you should know by now what your numbers are for 2017, even if it wasn't for the full year. So you can say in 2000, here's an example of an excerpt for promo 2 on minimizing taxes. In 2017, I was able to write off $20,000 in tax deductions as a business owner on expenses that I already had. How powerful is that? These bills that we've incurred are bills that we had before we joined myEcon. The only difference for us is, number one, we now are business owners, and number two, we've learned all of the write-offs that we can get. So a powerful one is to put a tangible number. And when we talk about tangible benefits, these are things that you can put some numbers to, something that you can quantify, something you can measure. So when we talk about cutting our taxes, we use our cash flow manager to be able to quantify and measure how much that truly was, as far as how much our taxes we minimize. And so it's pretty easy to be able to calculate. You can also do it for the total time that you've been in myEcon, not just for a given year or year to date. You can do it for the overall time. You should be able to calculate that, looking again at your cash flow manager to see your total deductions that you were able to recognize. This one, guys, sets us apart from 95% of the people in the U.S. because 95% of the people only have a job as their source of income. So this is a key area of distinguishment for us, separating us from other people. So absolutely everyone should be able to include this excerpt of this particular promo based on minimizing your taxes. The third promo based on the cash flow stream is generating business income. We have an opportunity to make money in the business, and this again is another tangible benefit that's allowed for us as myEcon associates. So how are you benefiting from the business income? From our memberships, from the products, and from the services. So how much money have you earned so far this year? Again, our cash flow manager, if we're keeping it up to date, we're also supposed to include the money that we make in our business in the cash flow manager, so you should easily be able to see how much you make. You can also go into your back office and look at your commission report to see your year-to-date totals, because each cycle includes a year-to-date total. So once again, for business income, you should be asking yourself the question, how much money have I earned so far this year? Or in 2017, since we just finished up the 2017 tax season. So an example of a promo for generating business income is in 2017, I earned an additional $6,000 on a part-time basis by helping people get on the road to financial freedom. Another example is my monthly business income pays my car note payment. Maybe you don't want to disclose the exact amount, but that's a pretty powerful statement to say that the money that you're making from your business pays your car note payment, if that's in fact the case. So money that you're earning from your products and services, as well as money that you're earning through getting other people to become entrepreneurs and join myEcon. The fourth promo that you can leverage is based on the cash flow stream for debt elimination. Debt elimination is all about us taking the money from the other cash flow streams and quickly paying down our debt, either money that we're getting from the business income, money that we're getting by minimizing our expenses, money that we're getting by redoing our W-4 and getting the additional allowances, taking that money and paying down our debt quicker. So time is a factor here, and dollar amount is a factor here. When will you be debt-free? If you've done your cash flow strategist, which is a critical part of myEcon, is being able to complete the cash flow strategist. You will have the answer to that question in the second bullet there. When will you be debt-free? I always encourage everybody, you should know your numbers. Your numbers is when will you be debt-free and when will you reach financial freedom. And it's always good to include numbers, dates, or length of time when you're talking about debt elimination. One of the ones I absolutely love that I use on a regular basis is this first example of I will be completely debt-free by 2019. Folks, the United States that we live in, most people are drowning in debt. So to be able to, number one, say you're going to be debt-free, and number two, know exactly when, is a pretty tall feat to have accomplished, because most people do not have their arms wrapped around exactly what it's going to take for them to get out of debt. And they haven't come up with that calculation to be able to say, I have a plan that I'm working from, because this illustrates that you actually have a plan that you're working from. So if you have not leveraged the cash flow strategist, it's going to be difficult to be able to answer that question of when will you be debt free. You can also use an example for debt elimination of how much debt in total that you've eliminated over a period of time. In the second example, I said I've eliminated $4,000 of debt in a year. It could be so far this year. It could be since I've joined myEcon in the period of time. It could be for 2017. You can break it down. And the good part about our promos is it can be situational based on the situation that you're in, depending on who you're talking to. If it's at a meeting, you can use a different one. If it's a one-on-one or a person that you're on a three-way call with, You can base it on that person's situation. And so you can tailor your promos according to the situation. But the beauty is we've got many different examples and many different types of promos based on our cash flow streams that we can leverage. The last example I have here is paying off car note a year earlier. Again, a key aspect of what we do at myEcon, and this is showing the power of our strategy of we're paying our debt off quicker. So I love to use that as well to say, you know what, I'm paying off my car a year earlier, and then on the flip side of that, how much am I saving by paying my car off? Because the goal is to pay off our debts, especially our consumer debts, so that we can save money on interest that we would pay had we paid it out through the life of that debt. So this is another powerful example to say, hey, I paid off my car 1 year earlier and saved, by doing that, saved $2,000 in interest payments. People are going to be like, what? How did you do that? So these are the types of, our testimonies are the things that are going to make people want to say, tell me more, or let me check this thing out, see how this thing can work for me. So these are powerful statements that you can use based on the cash flow streams. Now, again, it's assuming that you're leveraging the cash flow streams, but all of us as associates should be leveraging a minimum of one cash flow stream. So that's the beauty. We all should be able to come up with at least one testimony, or else we're doing ourselves a disservice and we've just created a $35 bill each month if we're not taking advantage of the cash flow streams that are available to us. So debt elimination, powerful. People would love how to get themselves out of debt quicker than what they currently have, because people in the U.S. are drowning in debt. Our fifth cash flow stream, passive income, promo number 5. How are you using the extra cash flow created with the other streams to invest? When we bring all this money in, if you follow our personal cash flow plan, the plan is to acquire as much additional income as you can by minimizing your expenses, by cutting your taxes, by maximizing your deductions, by paying off your debt. So what do you do with that extra money? Well, part of it is to make the money grow, because we know we need 10 to 20 times what we make in a given in order to attain financial freedom and live comfortably in retirement. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, how are you using that extra cash flow to invest? Or another passive income is not only just investing through like the stock market, but it's also things like residual income. It's also things like real estate. It's any type of money that's working for you when you're not working. So you want to be able to calculate all that. But again, the beauty is we have the tools to be able to help you to do that. So if you, again, going back to the cash flow strategist, if you have completed the cash flow strategist, you will know your year of when you're going to reach financial freedom for retirement. That is powerful, guys, because most people do not know where they're going to land when it comes to retirement. They have no idea, and they're kind of flying by the seat of their pants, which results in them ending up having to work years beyond retirement because they didn't have a plan mapped out. But through our cash flow strategist, it allows us to be able to say, hey, I am going to become a millionaire by X date, or I'm going to achieve financial freedom by X date. So again, with this, it's also good to include numbers, dates, or length of time. So the first example I have here, and guys, some of these examples, by the way, that I included in this presentation are my own personal testimonies. And so this first one is definitely something that I did after joining myEcon. I used my extra cash flow to max out my 401k contribution with an additional $6,000 a year. So prior to me joining myEcon, I was just covering enough just to get the company match. But I realized I was doing myself a huge disservice by not maxing out my 401k, which is the 18%. And so by creating that additional cash flow, by cutting my taxes, I promptly went in and increased my 401k contribution to get the full max each year. Which then, I mean, we can even take that first example a step further, because that $6,000 invested at an 8% rate of return multiply. So it's not just $6,000 that I'm actually putting into my investment account and saving. Is $6,000 at an 8% rate of return year over year. And so when we truly calculate our total cash flow, which we're going to talk about later on, that's the information that you want to factor in. So it's not just the $6,000. This is just an example of one. The second example that I have here is, and I love this one too, because who can say that they're on track to become a millionaire? Everyone wants to become a millionaire, but not everybody has a plan to get there. And so with our cash flow strategists, we can say, I am on track to become a millionaire by whatever date that you have in your cash flow strategist using my investment strategies. And so, again, knowing your financial freedom date, you can say that. Now, how powerful is that? To be able to tell somebody that you're talking to about myEcon that you're on track to become a millionaire by a certain date. They're going to say, how do you know that? Well, how? Glad that you asked. Now you go into your pitch about myEcon. Perfect segue. So these are some powerful statements that you can use, number one, to pique interest, but number two, to be able to get people to really want to join myEcon, so that once we understand the problems that they have, we can show through our testimonies how it helped us, and now they want to figure out how it can help them. Another good one is the emergency fund. One of the first steps in our PCP, our personal cash flow plan, is to create an emergency fund. And so part of what we talk about when we create an emergency fund is a better way to leverage your emergency fund, whether it's the beginner emergency fund of $3,000 or it's the full emergency fund of 6 to 12 months, is to not let the money sit in the bank. We as associates know we need to make our money work for us and maximize the investments that we can get on our money, the return on our investment. And so instead of having our money sit in the bank, we can move our money in our emergency fund to an investment account through things like a municipal bond, getting anywhere from 4, 6, 7% as opposed to less than 1%. Well, guess what? That's a powerful testimony. Number one, most people don't have an emergency fund. And number two, people are bankrolling and stacking their money up in the bank, getting basically 0% interest. And so I personally have used this one before, and I have gotten people to say, you know what, that makes sense. You know, I want to hear more about what you're doing. And so, again, with us, we've got the benefit and the advantage of getting this information that people don't know. And so let's use that as our personal story. And if we aren't taking advantage of this, then that's work for us to do. Those are goals for us to be able to say, how am I taking advantage of all 5 of these cash flow streams so I can then create my testimony? And guys, I did a training on this last year. I created my emergency fund, put it in a municipal bond, and that bad boy is growing, whereas in years past, I was having my money just sit in my savings account, and at the end of a year, I'd have like, I don't know, $3, $5 in interest, you know, whereas after, I think it was 3 or 4 months, I had like $100 accrued in my emergency fund based on the interest that it was gaining. So, again, a powerful testimony. Because most people, number one, aren't going to have an emergency fund, and number two, they aren't even thinking about how to make the money grow if they do have money sitting in the bank. Another powerful one is residual income, because again, our business, and as you start to build your myEcon business and you start to get residual income, that's considered passive income as well. So this one kind of fits in the business income cash flow stream as well as the passive income. And guys, I just posted a personal testimony about this, because again, I have a newfound testimony that I just had based on my medical condition, but it's very powerful because I built up a team, I got sick, had to sit down for a minute, but guess what? The money was still rolling in through my monthly residual income checks coming in because I built a business. And so most people don't have money coming in outside of a job. So to be able to say that you're earning X amount of dollars in residual income from your business is huge, huge. Or you could also, just like the debt elimination, say, I'm using the money from the residual income, the monthly income from my business to pay down my debt, or invest, whatever, however you want to use it. You may not want to give the numbers, but you can say how you're using that money. You're taking one cash flow stream and leveraging it for another cash flow stream. So these are some examples of some powerful statements just thinking about the 5 cash flow streams that we have. But guess what? There's still more. There are other tangible benefits that we can leverage outside of the 5 cash flow streams. The first one, and this one is to me the most important one of all, is your total cash flow. Combining all 5 cash flow streams to say at the end of the day, what is myEcon doing for me holistically? All the cash flow streams and any other tangibles. Everybody should have a total cash flow. And I'm going to show you how to calculate that using our back office. What about minimizing expenses? One of the things that we talk about in the cash flow strategist is minimizing expenses. We as associates with our mindset shifts are always looking for ways on how we can cut down our expenses. So when you're completing your cash flow strategist, one of the sections says go back and look at all your bills. Look at all your bills, your recurring expenses. Can you cut back on your hair? Can you cut back on your cable? Can you cut back on your cell phone bill? Can you cut back on your grocery bill? Can you cut back on your entertainment expenses? What are some ways that you can create cash flow by minimizing your expenses? That too is a tangible benefit that you can include in your promo. Products and services. Sometimes we forget about those, but that's also an important part of your promo. Are you taking advantage of the promo? The roadside assistance, our nutritional products. Are you taking advantage of the Smart Money Kit? Our products and services, we need to create promos and testimonies and stories around those as well. And so your emergency fund is another one. Again, like I said, most people don't even have an emergency fund. Most people, I think the statistic is like 69–70% of the people don't even have $1,000 in the bank. And so these are also tangible things that you can include as part of your promo. The first bullet, the first example I have is the total. I have cash flowed a total of $120,000 in 2 years by leveraging all 5 of the myEcon cash flow streams. How powerful is that? If you guys have been to our cash flow conferences in the past, this is a big part of what we celebrate. How much money in total since you've been in myEcon have you cash flowed? Huge. We've got people in myEcon who have cash flowed $1 million+ by leveraging these strategies in myEcon. And so everybody should be leveraging at least one of the cash flow streams, and therefore you should at least have one testimony with your total. Or another one here is, hey, I saved $250 a month by minimizing my monthly expenses. Because our mindset is to try to make sure we do everything we can to increase our cash flow. Another powerful one is our credit score. I increased my credit score by 100 points by leveraging, 100 points in 4 months using the myEcon Smart Money Kit. Our credit repair program is amazing. Pretty much most people who are using are seeing some sort of benefit. And unless you got a perfect credit score, I suggest everyone to go through and leverage the Smart Money Kit. And so that becomes another powerful testimony that's tangible. Maybe you don't necessarily have to translate into dollars, but it's still a tangible testimony that you can include. But not only do we have tangible things like credit score, debt eliminated, savings, investments, dollar saved, but we also have other intangible benefits, things that have helped us in terms of mindset shift. I personally have several intangible benefits that I have included in a promo before. And again, I make it situational depending on the audience or depending on, who I'm speaking to. How are the products and services helping you? One of the ones I use, and this is my own personal story and promo is I have changed my career aspiration to become a full-time entrepreneur in myEcon. Prior to joining myEcon, I was Miss Corporate America, and I had a career aspiration of being an executive, sitting in an executive board in some corporation, Fortune 500 company, you know, being an executive, a C-level executive. Since I've joined myEcon, my mindset has completely shifted, and so now I have a whole new career aspiration to become a full-time entrepreneur. Some people haven't since joined myEcon, and this is also me. It's opened your eyes to entrepreneurship. So now you've got the entrepreneurial bug, and so now you've learned other leveraging the strategies of myEcon to become an entrepreneur in other spaces and have additional businesses. This was in fact for me. So my plan is to become a full-time entrepreneur, myEcon as my business, as well as other business opportunities. And so some of us, it has, you know, intangible benefits that we can include as part of our testimony. It's helped us as a launch pad for other businesses. I know many of our associates who have gone out and started other businesses based on now learning what entrepreneurship is about. This is another one of my testimonies that I always say. I work to ensure every dollar spent generates a return. As myEcon, when your mindset starts to shift, you start thinking about your money differently. You're much more aware of where your money is going and who's out to get it, because you realize people are out to get your money, and becomes a matter of how can I, if I have to spend money, how can I make it come back? Whether that's coming back through interest, through investing, whether it's coming back through additional business income that you can make by investing in your business, whether it's coming back through debt elimination. So that's also an intangible aspect of your testimony that you can use. Looking at our products and services, I personally take the MSM. I absolutely love it. The MSM tablets have eliminated my chronic knee pain. That's another benefit that doesn't necessarily have a dollar amount associated with it, but that's real if you're talking to someone about our products and services. I personally have gotten people to purchase the MSM because of my own personal testimony, being an athlete. So when I talk to other athletes, I talk to them about the MSM tablets and how it's helped me, because a lot of athletes have injuries that they're dealing with, and MSM is great for that. So these are some examples of intangible benefits. So what you have to do is just really sit down and think about all the different ways that myEcon is helping you be able to improve financially, physically, emotionally. It's on all different levels. It doesn't just have to be about the money. So you should, based on this, be able to come up with several different promos that you can use. So let's talk about some do's and don'ts when you're building your promo and creating your promo. What you want to do is make sure you keep the testimony short and sweet. We don't want to have a long, drawn-out testimony, because you can lose interest, and depending on the situation, you may only have a short amount of time to make your pitch. You're out and about prospecting, your testimony has to be pretty short and sweet. So a general rule is to keep it under a minute. Be specific on how it has benefited you. So you don't want to say, I just love myEcon, it's been great. Okay, that's good, but how has it been great for you? And so you want to go back to those previous examples that I showed you in the presentation on the earlier slides to be specific. You don't want to talk in general terms. People be like, okay, it's great in what kind of way? Like, give me some more information. And again, you can have multiple testimonies. There's no reason that you can't have multiple testimonies. Everybody should have a general one with the total cash flow, but you can have several others depending on the situation. The other option that you have, which I like to do, is talk about the problem that myEcon solved, because we all joined myEcon for a reason. So another good testimony is, prior to myEcon, this was my problem. Since I've joined myEcon, I've been able to address that problem through X, Y, and Z. So when you do your promo, it's sometimes good to be able to say what your issue was prior to joining myEcon and how myEcon has solved that problem. If you look at some of the testimonies on the myEcon site, or the myEcon that we posted from our conference last year. People talk about how they were drowning in debt. I always think about Ioannis Williams' testimony where she said she was the payday loan queen. What she did is she used an example of how she had a problem prior to joining myEcon and how myEcon solved the problem. And so when you're talking to a prospect and you want to tell your story, it's good to understand what their problems are and then come back with your testimony and say, hey, I can relate to that. I had a similar issue, and this is how myEcon solved my problem, by giving those benefits that we discussed. You want to speak with confidence. You know, well, let me see. How has myEcon benefited me? Well, you're going to lose them. They're going to be like, okay, she or he doesn't have it together. Let me keep it moving. So you want to speak with conviction. You want to speak with passion. You want to speak with confidence, because this is your story. And if you don't have the confidence and speaking with the conviction, it's going to be difficult to get someone to say, you know what? I like what he or she is saying. I want to hear more. I want to learn more, or I want to do this myself and see how it can help me. And you can also, again, include tangible and intangible benefits in your promo. Don'ts. I already talked about being long-winded and rambly, but what you don't want to do is undersell how you benefited. Sometimes we short sell what myEcon has done for us. Depending on the situation, sometimes it's good to go for the big total cash flow. Go for the big numbers. And again, it's situational. Also, don't oversell. We don't want to tell untruths about how myEcon has benefited us. We want to be honest, and we want to be straightforward. If you're still working and you're in the early stages, maybe you can't have a testimony for all 5 cash flow streams yet, but make that a goal to work on. But most people within the first couple weeks, minimum 30 days, can at least talk about the monthly tax savings if you're an employee. Because we try to get our cash flow, our associates, to increase their cash flow as soon as they join myEcon and start getting the cash flow coming in. And the easiest way to do that, obviously, is 2 ways. Number one, through the business side, sharing myEcon with other people, as well as through the W-4. So you may not have all 5, and that's okay. They will come over time if you continue to work the business and work the strategies, but everyone at a minimum should have at least 1. And you've heard us say this before, we are not in the business of begging. We are here to share information because we feel like we've got the prize. We've got information that's going to change people's lives. And so we're not in the business of trying to beg them or you got to do it. Come on, you got to join. You should join. We're not in business of doing that. We're going to use our powerful testimony to share how it's working for us, get them in front of a presentation, give them an opportunity to ask questions and make a decision as to whether or not they want to. And then we keep it moving. They have to make a decision as to whether or not they want to join. If they do, great. We'll get them plugged in so they can start leveraging these cash flow streams. If not, we thank them and we keep it moving, and we may circle back with them a little later. But the key point, guys, is the testimony itself will cause the person to want to join, not the begging, the pleading, the bogus claims. There's a lot of network marketing companies out there. You're going to be a millionaire and join us and you can instantly become a millionaire. That's not what we're all about. We want to be realistic and we want to be able to tell our story, because our story itself, a real live person who's ran these strategies, that's showing how it's working from them, is pretty powerful, as opposed to some bogus claim that you really can't back up, because we want to be able to back up the claims that we're making in our testimony. So those are some of the do's and don'ts. And I will say this too, if again, there's different situations. I think someone unmuted their line. Did someone have a question? All right. So it doesn't mean we all should have our own testimony, but it doesn't mean that you can't leverage someone else's testimony as part of your business building activities. But you should have your own. There are some people in my econ with some pretty compelling testimonies. I was like, wow, that is an awesome testimony. I would love to use your testimony. So it doesn't mean that we can't use other people's testimonies. But at a minimum, you should have your own. And if you don't have your own, then that just means you got some work to do. So again, the most important one is to calculate your total cash flow, being able to look at all 5 cash flow streams and determine how it has benefited you. And so we have a tool called the Cash Flow Success tool in our back office that makes it easier for you to be able to calculate your total cash flow. And again, everyone should have one. So I'm going to switch over to our back office, to the BMC homepage, which most of you should be familiar with. This is our back office. And if you scroll down and go into Tools, click on Tools. And then if you scroll down, it's going to bring you to Cash Flow Success. And this is a tool to look at the different cash flow streams for you to be able to calculate. So here's an example of the calculation for total cash flow. So the first one is business income. How much money are you making in the business? Pretty easy to calculate, looking at your commission history. But the important part to understand is this is cumulative, which means this is what you add year over year over year. So you're going to continue to update and add to this cash flow success tool year over year. It's not just what you've done for the given year, because we want to be able to show how myEcon has benefited you since you've been in the business. So this is intended to be a tool that you update with some level of regularity. I personally like to go in roughly once a quarter to go in and update my cash flow success tool. The tax savings. How much money are you saving on taxes by redoing your W-4? By leveraging all of the tax write-offs that you get. Less expenses. How much money are you saving by cutting your expenses? Going back and redoing things. I had an associate who said, he started going back when he sat down to do his cash flow strategies. He started looking at all of his expenses and realized he had several gym memberships. He's like, why do I have all these memberships? So one of the things that I love about myEcon forces us to go back and truly dig into our finances and look at where is our money going. And that's a key aspect. And once you start to see that and you start to develop that budget and you understand there's some areas where I can cut some of my expenses. And so you want to capture those, document them in your cash flow strategies, but also include them here. Eliminated debt, another place that you want to look at. Total debt eliminated. Now, one of the things that you want to include here is when you pay off your debt quicker, if you saved money, saved on interest, you want to include that in this entry because you have saved, that's money that you've saved that increases, that's cash flow to the good for you that you would have had to spend, but because you paid that debt off quicker and reduced the amount of interest you have to pay, that number should be included. So just think about when you go to calculate your total number, anything based on the strategies that you've learned in myEcon that has increased your cash flow, whether it's money that you saved, money that grew because of investments, whatever the case may be. I'll give you an example of what happened to me. In this eliminated debt, I had some rental property that I had a rental home that I still had a mortgage on. And, I went back and started revisiting my the rental property, and I realized based on some stipulations and guidelines that I was not necessarily responsible for this rental property. And so, again, this information had been in the letters that I was getting for years, but I never really paid attention. But again, because of my econ, I'm scrutinizing things more. I'm looking at this rental property. I know I'm upside down based on the balance and what the house is worth. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this rental property. And lo and behold, I see this thing. I'm like, let me check into this. Come to find out, I was not liable for this rental property. I was able to get rid of the property without hurting my credit, giving it back to the bank. And so I included that amount of money in my total cash flow because that was money that I did not have to pay because of my econ, shifted my mindset and started scrutinizing my expenses a lot more. And so I included that amount in my total cash flow savings. And so it calculates at the end your total cash flow acquired. So this is how you can calculate your total cash flow. Excellent tool. Just think about all the different ways of things that you're doing different now because of my econ that's increasing your cash flow. All right, going back to the presentation. So here's an example of a script. There's a short version and a longer version. And it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, something that you can leverage. Hi, my name is Nicole Petaway. Since using a product, because it could be a product or joining my econ, since joining my econ, I have been able to cash flow a total of $227,000 leveraging the strategies that I've learned at my econ. Super simple, but yet hugely powerful. Or I could say my name is Nicole Petaway. Since using our MSM tablets, I have been able to get rid of my chronic knee pain that I've had. A longer version would include the problem. So you can say, my name is Nicole Petaway. Prior to joining my econ, I had never filled out a W-4 form and had no idea what it was. But since joining my econ, I've filled out the W-4 correctly, and it has allowed me to bring home an additional $1,100 a month. So you can see in this example, I included the problem that I had and how my econ solved it. This one is a good one as well because it's showing that I had a similar problem. And I like to use this one when a person tells me a problem that they have when I'm prospecting them. I like to use this one to say, you know what, especially if I had a similar problem, you know what, I was in the same boat. I too had such and such and such and such. But then when I joined my econ, I was able to do this. And I give them specific, concrete, tangible numbers. And that's an important part of my econ is by having that testimony. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You can leverage this in a number of different ways. I've given a testimony to people who are also in corporate America, and I used the testimony I gave you earlier about prior to joining my econ, or another one, and this is another one that I love. Prior to joining my econ, I used to travel for my job and write off all of these expenses for my employer. Well, now, since joining my econ, I now am a business owner, and I'm able to write off those same expenses of my own that I was already spending money on. So depending, again, on the audience, you can tailor your story, and it's always good to have several testimonies in your arsenal prepared, depending on the situation that you can use. So these are examples of scripts that you can use. So, homework. Everybody needs to create your promos. Every myEcon associate should have a promo, and the first one should be the total cash flow. Calculate your total cash flow. And maybe your total cash flow is only just through the tax savings for right now, and that's okay. Use that. Use the cash flow success tool in the back office to help you. But then I would say at a minimum, come up with 2 others because we've got 5 cash flow streams. So everyone should, if you're leveraging them, you've been in the business a while, 3 different promos based on the cash flow streams, whether it's tangible, intangible, it could be products and services, or either of the 5 cash flow streams. You should be able to leverage those to create several promos. And so, guys, that concludes the actual presentation. We've got about 9 minutes left, so what I would like to do is open this up for two things. Either if you've got an example of a promo that you use that you love, if you can share it, or if you have a question regarding the material that we covered, hit *6 to unmute your line. Or if you're on the app, you can just simply hit the mute button. Demos of your testimony or promo that you love, or a question. Open it up for questions and demos. *6 or unmute your phone. All right. Well, folks, I'm going to check the chat real quick to see if there's nothing in the chat. So it appears as if I've covered this information. There's no additional questions. Anyone want to share a promo? *6.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I wanted to know, like, whenever we first joined, they said to go to the ID theft thing. You know what I'm talking about?
The identity theft protection?
Yes. How do you do it again?
The identity theft protection. I'll show you that real quick. It's in your back office. So you're going to go to your home page. And then you're going to go to Income Shifting Membership. Right here. Then we've got the ID Defender right here that you want to sign up for, and the key logging defense system. Both of those you want to go in and get yourself set up.
ID theft and then what?
ID Defender and the key logging defense system. Are you looking at the screen?
Oh, no, I don't have it pulled up. I'm writing everything down.
Okay, so it's ID Defender and the key logging defense system.
Key logging defense system.
If you can't find it, just go on our Millionaire Society Facebook page and post a question, or you can ask, myself, you can reach out to me or any of, one of your uplines to help you out there. All right. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
All right. Anyone else?
Hey, Nicole, this is Mike. How's it going?
Good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I was just curious, for the cash flow success, do we have any training that talk about, so if someone started investing like in a Roth or any type of investment, of how to calculate that, would that just be something, because I know you gain some interest, obviously, if you're putting something away. Is there something that we have in our back office? I know Alvin sometimes does a training on the cash flow success.
Not in our back office per se, but probably some of our previous training calls on the Thursday night training session covers that. But as far as the example that you gave, Mike, on investing is simply calculating your interest. So it's not only the money that you started out with, but your interest. So the statements that in your investment, you can use those to show what that amount is.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
That's going to be funny. I did it.
All right. Well, I thank you for your time. This session has been recorded, so we'll we'll have this uploaded to our YouTube site, and we'll send a note out once it's been uploaded to the YouTube site for Millionaire Society. And enjoy the rest of your evening.